Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is long overdue. I think it is definitely time that we have a chat. If you've been following along with my vlogs for the last couple of months, you've probably heard me talk about the project that I'm working on quite a bit, because that's been a very large part of my daily routine and just what I've been doing a ton. But I have yet to make a full, comprehensive sit-down video where we just talk about it. I can catch you guys up, give you a nice update, let you know what's going on if you care, and also just kind of in general talking about writing, publishing, that kind of thing. So if that interests you at all, you have come to the right place. If you've missed all of my writing vlogs and stuff like that, I'll have the playlist link down below in the description so you can get yourself caught up. But I think I'll tell you everything you need to know in this video. But if you do have any questions that I don't answer, feel free to leave those in a comment down below and I will come chat with you guys down there. So yeah, I am currently in the middle of, I don't even know what to call it at this point. I guess I'm in the revising phase of this book. I've been in the revising phase for a very long time. It's been a very complicated, convoluted process this time around, more so than any other project I've ever done in my entire life. Before I get into too much about that though, I do want to thank Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. You guys have probably heard me talk about them a few times in the past because I've been using them a lot this summer. They've honestly been like a godsend to me to help keep my love of learning alive now that I've graduated school. It's actually been my daily routine that when I get home from work in the afternoon, I like to walk on my treadmill and watch one of the video classes. And I've actually made a whole playlist on all of the writing classes that I am currently taking or I plan to take. But this has been so great because honestly just listening to people talk about writing, it inspires me and motivates me to work on my book. So it's kind of this like daily reminder that this is something I need to keep working on, which is why I love watching writing YouTube videos so much. They have all kinds of classes for all different subjects. The writing classes have just been my main area of interest as of late. But if you're interested in trying Skillshare Premium for 2 months for free, you can click my link down below in the description. Okay, so now let's get into the book writing update. I made myself a list of talking points and notes because I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go with this, but I didn't want this to be like really rambly and boring to watch. So we'll see how much I actually follow my bullet points. The first thing I have written down though is to recap the journey of how we got here. That's literally what I wrote down. I don't know. So let me just kind of explain to you the background of this project, but I'm gonna give you like the Spark Notes version. So I actually started writing this book my senior year of high school. I was 18 years old. I guess that was 2015. And I completed the draft. I wrote the rough draft and I think I went through one major revision. So the document I have on my computer is saved as draft 3, but I only remember doing one major revision, so I don't really know. I finished it that senior year of high school and I actually went on to query it and try and get an agent for it. And that was a very interesting experience. This was not the first time I had tried to query a book. This may have been the third time. I don't know. I did a lot of writing and stuff in high school. I was a lot more motivated and on top of my game on my writing stuff in high school. But the querying process for this book was very interesting because I had a really good request rate. I didn't query a ton of agents, but of the ones that I did, more than half of them ended up requesting the full manuscript. But then obviously from there, no one ended up representing me, like nothing ended up following all the way through. So that told me that one, my query letter was good and the idea was good and people were interested in it. And my sample pages and my first like 50 pages were good because people who requested a partial ended up also requesting the full. So the beginning was good and the idea was good and the query was good, but clearly there was something wrong with the full if it was never getting past that. So through that process of elimination, that helped me kind of figure out what I needed to work on. I also got a lot of very helpful feedback actually from the agents who ended up passing. They gave me more feedback than I was expecting, and so I kind of took all of that and had to go back to the drawing board and try and figure out, all right, so how are we gonna fix this project? 18-year-old me had no freaking clue. No freaking clue. And like now, 4 years later, looking back on it, like I don't even know how I managed to write what I did write when I was 18 because I was not ready to write this book when I was 18. This was an ambitious feat for 18-year-old Katie. So basically what happened was I set the project aside. I went off to college and obviously I was very occupied with everything going on there, and so I didn't really touch this project for those 4 years while I was at college. I may have like poked at it and stuff, but I never really sat down to work on it again until my senior year of college. I don't know, in March, is that when I pulled it back out? And I read through it and I had totally new eyes on the project. Not only had I gone through 4 years of life experience and I'd just kind of grown up a little bit more, but I'd also gotten a degree in creative writing and I had been trained and practicing and writing and I had definitely improved my craft. And so reading over that manuscript just one time, I was like, oh, like it was obvious to me what needed to change. It was obvious to me how to fix it compared to when I was 18 and I had no freaking clue. So I decided that I wanted to try this again because this has always been a project that I've been really passionate about and I've really believed in. And so now here we are. I'm currently in draft 5. I started with draft 3, which is where I left off when I was 18. And if you watched my vlogs, everything that you watched me do, like with the sticky notes on the wall and when I like printed it out and was marking it up and stuff, all of those changes were from draft 3 to draft 4. And in that process, I ended up adding like 20,000 words to the manuscript. It got significantly longer. I added so many scenes, so many chapters. I took out a lot of things. I added subplots. Like, it was a major revision. And now I'm in draft 5 and I have beta readers who currently have it. We're going like chunks of chapters at a time and I'm making changes to it with the feedback that I've been getting from them. And if you're a beta reader, I say this like every time I mention this in a video, but thank you. You have been so helpful. So that's where I am now. I am in draft 5. I am with my beta readers. We are still in the trenches of revision, but I have hit a point where I'm very hopeful about the book. I really like all of the changes that I made between draft 3 and draft 4 on my own. Those changes made me feel so much better about this project. I fixed most of the major problems that I had when I was 18. And now going through with my beta readers, they're pointing out things that I hadn't even noticed before, so that's been super, super helpful as well, which is why it's always important to have beta readers and critique partners. So that's where I am now. I asked you guys on Instagram if you had any specific questions that you wanted me to talk about. I should probably pull that up now. Okay, yeah, so you guys did send in a lot of really great questions, so I guess I will keep going through my bullet points, and if I don't answer any of them, I will answer these at the end. So my next talking point is, what are my goals for this project? I would really love to get this book published. That is my goal. That is what I am working towards. Some of you guys asked, like, how do you stay motivated? How do you stay inspired to write? And I think when you have a goal in mind, that's really all you need. My goal is I want to get this book published and I'm not going to stop working on it and I'm not going to stop pushing until that happens or until, you know, I have tried really hard and I have realized that this project isn't going to work out and then I will move on to the next one and I will start all over again. Where I'm at now though is very interesting. I'm very, you know, excited and motivated to get this book published. I would really, really love to see that happen. I'm so proud of this project, but I'm also in this like weird limbo, self-doubt, like imposter syndrome, all of that nonsense stage, because this would technically be my debut. I'm not counting my self-published poetry collection, although I love that collection and I have no regrets about self-publishing that. That was a fantastic experience. This would be my first traditionally published work and it's a novel, not a poetry collection. And so along with that, you have to think about like, this is going to be the first work of yours that most people are going to read. And a lot of people, you know, if they read something by a new author and they don't like it, that's all you get. You only have one chance at a first impression. You only have one chance to convince readers that your books are worth their time, which is fair. I do that too. If I read a book from an author and I really don't like it, I am far less likely to pick up their next book. And so that just puts like a lot of pressure on this. Like, obviously I want it to be its best no matter what. Obviously I want it to be good no matter what. But if this actually does end up getting published and it ends up being my debut, I want it to be my best foot forward. I want it to be the best first impression I can possibly make with the reader. I want them to want to pick up my next book. And also, I don't think I've told you guys the genre yet. It's a YA contemporary, kind of borderlining into new adult territory because our main characters are 18 years old, but it's a young adult contemporary, which is not my genre of choice for writing. This was just a story that like demanded to be told. Like, I felt like I had to tell the story. This story has been bothering me for over 5 years, like demanding that I write it. It's been demanding my attention. But it's not a genre that I usually write or that I would want to continue writing exclusively. So with it being my debut, I just worry about pigeonholing myself into a genre that I don't see myself writing a ton of in the future, you know. Not that I would never write another contemporary, it's just not what I would tend to write, I don't think. And that's, you know, thinking way ahead, but this is just my mind and all of the stress and all of the worries as I'm working on this project. And I'm also dealing with this. If you're a writer, you will probably relate to this. It's kind of coming to terms with and accepting that the project is never going to perfectly match the vision that I have in my head. It's never going to be the perfect picture that I have in my head, and all I can do is try and get it as close as I can. But that's like the ultimate frustration with writing, is you can like see in your head exactly what you want this story to be, and when it's on paper It's just never quite the same, no matter how hard you try. So I guess I'll tell you a little bit more about what the book's about. Obviously, I don't want to go into it too much because I want to be dramatic and I don't want to spoil you. But I guess I can tell you a little bit about some of the subject matters because I talked about them a little bit on the applications for my beta readers, so they've already been like widely seen by a lot of people. Like I said, it's a YA contemporary. Our main characters are seniors in high school, and the book deals with so many like sensitive and borderline like controversial subject matters, which has been a headache in and of itself, just trying to handle all of that well and be sensitive about it and not offend people with it. But I already know, just based on the subject matter, so many people are going to be offended by it without even reading it. They're just going to write it off based on what it's about. And I've kind of just come to terms with that already. Now that I said that, I don't know if I want to say anything about what it's about. If you already know, you know, but I'm not going to say anymore. Like I said, I am revising, and so my current struggles right now are I'm really looking at pacing, which ironically is like the one thing that none of my beta readers have pointed out as a problem. They actually all say that they really like the pacing, so maybe I'm just paranoid. I just really worry about it being paced well because that's something I can't stand in a book, is when the pacing is off, and so that's something I've been really paying attention to. I'm also really paying attention to character arcs, character development, relationships between characters, because again, that's something that's really important to me in a book. I'm also looking at plausibility of the plot, of character reactions, of sequence of events. I've changed the order of things happening in this book so many times. And then, weirdly enough, a big thing has been the balance of the appearance of characters throughout. Like, there are some characters who are just not in the book very much, which I hadn't even realized until my beta readers pointed that out. Because like in my head, I'm like, oh, I know what they're doing. It's just happening off the page, and it never really occurred to me that I need to fix that. So that's what I'm working on right now. That's all I had in my notes, and this video is already getting really long, so I will go through the Instagram questions and see if there's anything that I did not answer. Someone asked, how did you find time to write while in college? I didn't. There's a reason why this project kind of took a pause for 4 years. I started to work on it near the end, but honestly, I am not the person to ask on how to balance your time with reading and writing and stuff in college because I just didn't. This is not to say that it's impossible, but it's hard. At least for me, I was so busy in college. I had so many things going on. I was also just like creatively drained from all of the work and stuff that I did for my classes and work and everything. So I kind of took the 4 years off of writing, and I took advantage of the time off that I had. So winter break, summer break, spring break, all of your breaks, that's when I did all of my writing. So I would just recommend taking advantage of that. Someone asked, do you write scenes in or out of order? I am a chronological writer all the way, especially when drafting. I might like skip one scene or one chapter if I'm stuck and then come back to it, but I write pretty much perfectly in chronological order. When I'm revising, I will bounce all over the place and do everything out of order, but when I'm drafting, I have to do it in order. Someone asked, how do you name your characters? Naming is so hard for me, and it's something that I feel like is so important. So I search a lot on Google for names, baby name lists, things like that, and I change character names a lot in the first draft. Like, I'll test something out for a chapter or two, then if it's not feeling right, scrap it, try something else. I keep lists on my computer of possible names, and I sub them in for different characters until I find one that sounds right. But yeah, it's just not something that I'm good at. I don't have an answer. What kind of program do you use to write? I just use Microsoft Word, nothing fancy. Someone asked, how did you plan it? This is very interesting, actually. I didn't talk about this. The way that I planned this book is like nothing I have ever done for any other project. I'm not a plotter or a pantser, I'm something in between. I feel like every project kind of demands its own process. Some books I have outlined extensively, some books I've completely just decided to wing it and pantsed the whole thing. This book, I wrote the query letter first. I don't know why I wrote the query letter, and from there, that's how I figured out what the book was about and everything, and then I started writing from there, which was actually so helpful for this book. So if you're stuck, that is something I would recommend trying, because if you don't know what a query letter is, it's the letter that you write to agents to get representation after you write your book. And what goes into the query letter is your main character, their goal, and what's in their way. Basically, all of the fundamental components of your book have to be in the query letter, and so it kind of makes you think about it It really makes you think about what you need in your book, and it helps you find all of the necessary pieces before you write it, so then when you go in to write, you're not lacking any of these major things. You already know what your big conflict is. You already know what your main character's biggest goal is and what's in their way. So I wrote my query letter first, and interestingly enough, the query letter has not changed since that first writing of it. So that's how I planned this book. It was very weird. Then I have a lot of specific questions just on writing advice, and this video is already very, very long. So maybe I'll make some separate videos about writing. I am not an expert, but I feel like I have learned a lot just through experience and practice and all of the writing classes I've taken and stuff. So if that's something you would like to see, or if you have any questions about writing, feel free to let me know. After this 5th draft, I think it's gonna be my last major revision, and from there we'll start moving on to smaller things. Yeah, this video is already super long, and I feel like no one's even watching anymore, so if you're still here, hey. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this somewhat interesting or helpful, or I don't really know, entertaining. If you would like to follow along with me on this writing journey, feel free to subscribe to my channel if you're not already. I would love to have you here. I put up at least 2 new videos every single week. If you want to follow me on any of my social media, or support me on Patreon, or check out a copy of my book, all of those links are down below in the description. And if you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up. It helps out my channel a lot. And other than that, I'll just see you guys in my next video very, very soon. Bye.
So hit me. So hit me. So hit me. First a confession. With you, I feel a connection. With you, it's